One of my absolute favourite places in Australia has to be Queensland, and I've spent a lot of time there. From the tropics of Cairns and Innisfail, where I picked bananas, to the metropolitan city of Brisbane. So, I decided to dig into some of their cases a little deeper, and I stumbled upon one which involves a woman believing she was a vampire. In the early hours of the 21st of October 1989, a man named Stephen Kerin was out on the Brisbane River enjoying a morning row. As he rode past the South Brisbane Sailing Club, he noticed something in front of the boathouse, which appeared to be a human body. Stephen shouted to some early morning joggers not to come near the boathouse. He then began to head towards the riverbank to get a better look for himself. As he pulled up, his fears were confirmed. Stephen had just stumbled upon one of the most gruesome crime scenes in Brisbane history. Only 20 minutes before Stephen made this chilling discovery, a woman named Elaine Baldock woke up and put her arm to the other side of the bed, only to discover her husband of 25 years wasn't there. He had been out drinking with some friends the night before, but he would often stay out no later than midnight. After checking the house and still seeing no sign of him, she began to worry. Her husband was a 47-year-old man named Edward Baldock. The couple had 5 children together and 2 grandchildren. So, at 5 AM, Elaine made a phone call to the police to report her husband missing. And then only 20 minutes later, so did the morning rower Stephen. The police soon arrived at 6 AM. One of the first to arrive on the scene was Chief Patrick Glancy. Patrick had been involved in many investigations, but this one was forever etched into his mind. The body that had been found was indeed Elaine's husband, Edward. Edward Baldock had been found laying in a fetal position. He had defecated and was laying completely naked except for his socks. He was completely covered in blood and had been stabbed 27 times in the neck, chest and back. He had been stabbed so many times in his back that there was a large open hole, and it appeared that someone had dug their fingers and hands into the wound. Edward's neck had been hacked with such force that the only thing holding his head onto his body was his spine. When the police turned over his body, his spine twisted and his head stayed where it was. Before being killed, it appeared that Edward had taken off his clothes and folded them into a pile and placed his shoes there too. They were placed not too far away from where his body was found. It wouldn't take long before the investigators found exactly who they were looking for. 2 pieces of evidence were found at the scene that made the work for the investigators rather easy. One of the pieces of evidence was a wallet, and the wallet was found under the rowing clubhouse door. It contained a bank card with the name of E. Baldock. This allowed the police to identify the victim as Edward, who had just been reported missing by his wife. The other clue would literally identify the killer. When the police examined the clothing next to Edward's body, they discovered a bank card that had been placed right into one of his shoes. But this bank card didn't belong to Edward. The name on the card was T.A. Wigginton. Only a few hours later, at around 10 AM, the police managed to find who the card belonged to. They headed down to a southern suburb of Brisbane, where a 24-year-old woman named Tracy Wigginton answered the door. Because her card was found at the crime scene, they only wanted to speak to her. They didn't believe that the person's card would necessarily have been the killer. They first thought that Edward could have found the card and put it in his shoe for safekeeping. The officers also believed that the murderer must have been a male due to the extremely violent nature of the attack. Investigators simply told Tracy that they had found her bank card and they wanted to know where she had been recently. They hadn't yet disclosed that it had been found inside a dead man's shoe. Tracy told them that she had gone out with some friends just the night before, and that they had visited a park and played on the swings near the sailing club. She told them that she must have lost her card around that area. At first, the investigators didn't really have a reason to believe that Tracy was the one who was responsible for the crime, even though, at 24 years old, Tracy was 6 feet tall and 251 pounds. But still, the police believed they were looking for a man. Thankfully, the investigators wanted to conduct a thorough investigation, and it's a good job that they did. They asked Tracy if it would be possible to inspect her car that she had used to drive to the park. Tracy complied with their wishes, and she didn't seem anxious at all. When they searched Tracy's car, they found a towel covered in dried blood. The police then told her that she needed to come to the station to be interviewed. Tracy agreed and did so without the request of any legal advice. She told them that she would be happy to help the officers with any inquiries they may have. Tracy lived with some flatmates, and some of the officers began to interview them at the flat. The housemates said that Tracy had come home at around 7:30 that morning in an upset state. She told her flatmates that she had driven to her friend's house and slept over. Upon waking up, she realised that she had lost her bank card, and she went down by the river with a friend to check, and there they saw the man's body and left. When Tracy had got back to her own flat, she told her girlfriend Debbie what she had seen and asked if she would take her to the location. When they got to the riverside, the police were there, surrounding the body. Debbie said that Tracy became visibly shaken and said, "Oh my God, it's real." Debbie said that they then drove back, and then a few hours later, the police knocked on their door. Back at the station, the investigators were informed of what Tracy's flatmates and girlfriend had said about her finding a body down by the river. They told Tracy what her friends and girlfriend had told them, and that she had seen a body the previous night. Tracy became upset and confirmed that she had indeed seen the body. She told the police that she and her friends didn't know what to do or how to process it, so they decided to push it to the back of their minds and forget about it. But at that very moment, a woman who was with Tracy that night came into the police station, and this woman was Tracy's secret lover, Lisa Pashinsky. She confessed that she was one of the people responsible for what happened to the man down by the river, along with Tracy and 2 other women. Now this is when the case becomes truly bizarre. Lisa told the police that her secret lover Tracy was a vampire. Upon hearing this new confession by Lisa, they quickly went to the room where Tracy was being interviewed and told her of Lisa's confession. Tracy told the police that what she had previously told them was a lie. She then proceeded to tell them what truly happened. On the night of October 21st, 1989, Tracy Wigginton was with some friends: Lisa Pashinsky, who was 24 years old, Kim Jervis, who was 23, and Tracy Waugh, who was also 23. They had spent the evening drinking in a bar in Fortitude Valley. Somehow, Tracy had managed to persuade the others to help her find a person to kill so she could feast upon their blood. Only the night before, Tracy had told Lisa that she needed to feed. The 3 others had heard stories of Tracy drinking animal blood and was somewhat curious and entranced by these rumours. At 11:30 PM, the 4 women got into Tracy's car and began to hunt for a victim. It just so happened that around this time, Edward Baldock had decided to make a move towards home. He had spent the night drinking with some friends and was now waiting for a taxi, when all of a sudden, a carload of 4 young women pulled over and offered him a lift. Tracy and Kim told him that if he got in, sex would be involved. Edward had consumed quite a lot of alcohol that night. He agreed and got into the passenger seat of the car. Once he was inside, they drove to Orley Park, which was just near the river in Brisbane's West End. Tracy then told Edward to come with her if he wanted to have sex. She left the three others in the car while they walked towards a deserted part of the area. Tracy told Edward that she needed to quickly go to the toilet, so he began to take off his clothes, waiting for her to come back. Whilst he was undressing, he noticed a bank card on the ground. Thinking it was his own, he put it in his shoe. The card was actually that of Tracy Wigginton's. At some point, it had fallen out of Tracy's pocket, and that's how the police would later discover it. Tracy didn't actually need the toilet. She had in fact gone to grab Lisa for some help. She was worried that Edward would be able to fight her off if she tried to attack him. Lisa had a knife that was given to her by Kim. Lisa was creeping towards Edward with the knife in hand, getting ready to use it on him. But she didn't have it in her, and she refused to kill him. Tracy then grabbed the knife from Lisa, and Lisa began to head back to the car. Tracy was now walking towards Edward. She plunged the knife into his neck. Edward tried to defend himself, but the wound on his neck was too much, and she easily was able to push his arms down. She then repeatedly stabbed him over and over again, creating a cavity in his back. She pulled his hair back to expose his neck, and she slashed his throat so deeply his neck was almost severed. Despite these extreme injuries, Edward was still alive. He was making gargling noises, and he rolled onto his side in a fetal position. Tracy then lit up a cigarette and watched Edward on the floor, struggling to breathe and gargling on blood. After a few minutes, his breathing stopped and he laid motionless on the ground. Tracy then walked towards his body and plunged the knife into him one more time to check that he was really dead. Tracy then got on her hands and knees and put her face into the hole that she had created in his back, and she began to consume his blood. Once she had finished drinking his blood, she went over to the river to wash her hands, hair and face. She then headed back to the car. Kim then asked Tracy, "Have you fed?" To which Tracy replied, "Yes." The three women in the car would later say that they could smell a metallic bloody smell on her breath. Tracy then brought Lisa and Kim to the side of the river where their body was and showed them what she had done to Edward. They all then drove back to their homes, and Kim took the knife and washed it with bleach. All four of the women were arrested and charged with murder. Tracy Wigginton immediately pled guilty to murder. During Tracy's trial, the details of just how brutal and shocking the crime was released to the public, and it left the whole of Australia completely shocked. The three other women pleaded not guilty and put all of the blame on Tracy. Their defense was that they were intimidated by Tracy. They claimed that they were too scared to stop the killing of Edward because she threatened that if anyone touched her during the process of feeding, she would pull their arms off. Lisa also told the court that Tracy had bought blood from a butcher and consumed it. She also told a story that Tracy had forced her to cut her hand so she could drink her blood. Her three companions were interested in the occult and Satanism, and on that night, they claimed that they were under Tracy's spell. They also told the court that Tracy had supernatural powers, stating that one time they had actually seen Tracy's body disappear when she was practicing dark magic. Tracy Waugh was acquitted after her lawyer convinced the court that she played no role in the murder. Lisa was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, but she was released in 2008 after serving 17 years in prison. Kim was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 18 years, but was released after 12. During the trial, it emerged that Tracy was mentally ill with multiple personality disorders. According to the medical experts, there were 5 distinct personalities in Tracy's head, 2 of which they saw as being capable of committing murder. Videotape evidence of Tracy's psychiatric interviews were made public, where she spoke of her disturbing abusive past at the hands of her grandfather and grandmother. According to a psychologist's report, the 5 personalities even had different voices. These personalities included little Tracy, a childlike and innocent personality, and then there was Big Tracy, a woman with severe depression, and then the Observer, a disconnected, icy personality. And then there was the 2 murderous personalities. There was Bobby, a frightening and brutal person, and then there was Avril, who was a reincarnation of her abusive grandmother. Tracy was sentenced to life in prison. She set to work in the prison library and gained a degree in anthropology and philosophy. During her time in prison, inmates referred to her as Fang. She appealed for parole multiple times, and believe it or not, Tracy Wigginton was released after serving 22 years. She was released on the 11th of January 2012. She has since expressed remorse for what she did and denied that she ever thought of herself as a vampire. Hey everyone, just so you all know, I've recently dropped some merch. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the description and pinned in the comments.